I told you I was going to ask you a little bit about the Year Violent Crime Task Force. Do you think that that's been part of why you've been successful in bringing some of the categories down?
Absolutely. And I always say this, the proactive nature of this police department is what keeps us afloat. And having our P&I teams that we have in specific hotspot areas in the city has absolutely reduced violent crime. It's statistics that we'll never see. They were running search warrants on the 4th of July yesterday while people were celebrating the 4th of July. We had the men and women of this police department working hard to take the criminal element off our streets on the 4th of July. And not just, obviously our patrol officers that worked were amazing, that they didn't get a chance to celebrate with their families, and did an excellent job of showing up and continuing to serve. But when you see these specialized units, go out in these neighborhoods, and when they've made drug seizures and weapons, like what some people won't understand, that I know the men and women of this police department understand, and I certainly do, is for every drug house that's hit with weapons and drugs, there are aggravated assaults and murders that were stopped because of that. Obviously, we'll never be able to prove it from a specific perspective, but I know that. When you have neighbors coming up to our task force officers, telling them thank you, giving them gratitude because kids couldn't walk near a house because they were fearful of it. It absolutely has played an important role. The jobs that they do, the job that all of our other proactive units are doing, and P&I has done an amazing job, and they are part of the crime plan. But when you look at our narcotics teams, when you look at our gang units, when you look at our SWAT teams, they are just they're doing tremendous work. That is what's keeping us on the right direction. And so I'm forever thankful and grateful for the work that they do, but they enjoy doing it. I think when they get that gratitude from the community, that's why we do what we do, and that's why they do what they do, and I'm very proud of them.
What's the difference between the P&I teams and, say, your other specialized units? Why is this group different?
Well, this group works directly out of the Office of the Chief of Police, and they work. It's specific to the crime plan. Now, obviously, every unit here is crime plan focused, but then they also have other responsibilities that are citywide and doing other things in other areas. Where these two teams are devoted to 5 areas that are grids that have been historically, that have struggled with violence historically, and they're concentrated in those areas. And the reductions in the grids and the work they're doing, I mean, it proves that as we grow as a department and as we grow our units, as to being focused and using data to drive where our officers are at, using intelligence to lead us to the right areas and individuals that are committing violence, is how you reduce and continue to reduce total violent crime in the city. And so the main difference is that is their role, that is their job, to be specifically assigned to the 5 historically violent areas that we've had in our city and continue to reduce violence in those grids.
It seems so daunting when you look at, when you see what happened in Fort Worth and the gun violence that we're seeing in Dallas and all over, not just in Dallas, I mean across the country. It just seems such a daunting task for police as the major city police chief president, that you must hear a lot like that. You must have had conversations with Noakes and others about what can other cities do to try to bring down that gun violence. Because I mean, yesterday just was horrifying, and what was happening at other parts of the Metroplex.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look nationally, when you look what happened in Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington D.C. This was a very violent week. I mean, literally it was a 5-day holiday weekend, theoretically, almost, and it was very violent. And so, yeah, the chiefs, we will all get together and continue to, we really have to come up with our plans and be truthful, and have our plans in place to reduce violent crime. There are one-off incidents that occur oftentimes, and so you have to remain focused. Certainly, if you remember the shooting that we had after the trail ride last year in Dallas, so we feel the city of Fort Worth's pain. We understand what that is because we've lived through it as well. and you have to stay true to your plans. The reduction of violent crime, and the goal is to reduce the incidents involving gun-related aggravated assaults, which we're fortunate enough to be reducing here in the city of Dallas, and we have to continue to stay on that course. Certainly, as you well know, here in Dallas, the permitting process, the fact that we need officers at events, the fact that events need to meet certain requirements and criteria, those are things that we learned from our pain last year. And so there are ways to mitigate those type of events, and unfortunately, oftentimes you can't prevent them 100%, but you could hope to mitigate a lot of the factors. Our hearts go out to the community of Fort Worth and to the men and women of the Fort Worth Police Department, because we understand. But I know good friends with Chief Noakes, and I know that he's got a plan in place, and I'm hopeful that it will continue to give them the results of less victims. But certainly, gun crime is an epidemic, not just in the Metroplex, but in the country. And we have to continue to stay the course, let our community know that we're never leaving, that we're going to continue to do what we do. Our men and women need to continue to be proactive and try to prevent these before they happen, by going out, by using intelligence, by using data to go to the areas and the people and places that are causing these. And so, we see these events and these mass shootings that occurred. I think what I just read this morning, I think there were 18 mass shootings nationally in the last 5 days. And we deal with those, and those are obviously tragic. But we have shootings that occur every day that don't get the national news, national attention. But those are the victims and families that are affected on those as well. And that's what police departments, police chiefs deal with, is to concentrate on, to do the best we can to mitigate large-scale mass shootings, but really to concentrate on the everyday violent crime by continuing to use intelligence and data and relying on the unbelievable hard work of the men and women of our departments.